I'm 30 and I'm starting over. Not in a dramatic way, not because everything blew up, but because I've realized I don't want to keep living a life I've slowly grown numb to. Over the years, I had a big dreams, but at some point I got used to the way I was living. I adapted and I got comfortable. But if I think back to the version of me that had those dreams, the one that felt unsettled and couldn't breathe in a life that didn't feel like his, if that version of me could see me now, he'd feel like he was drowning. It's weird. You hit 30 and suddenly you start taking inventory. At least that's how it was for me. Like, wait, how did I even end up here? And the wild part is, I still get these little flashes, memories of being in my early 20s and thinking, man, is this really going to be the rest of my life? And now that I'm 30, I'm asking, what happened to everything I said I'd accomplish by now? Time went by fast. I kept thinking I had more of it, but it caught up to me. When I was younger, I never really had a dream job. I loved cars, playing soccer, and gaming all night, and hanging out with friends. There was no plan. After high school, I didn't even think much about what came next. Summer felt like summer until someone asked me what classes I signed up for. I remember thinking, wait, I'm supposed to be registered for college already? It just hadn't clicked. I think the closest thing I had to a dream was playing soccer professionally or maybe being part of a racing team. But nobody told me how to turn that into reality. So eventually, I just looked around and followed what other people were doing. A person close to me went into engineering, and I thought, that's close enough to cars, and it sounds respectable. So I picked engineering. I got my degree and I got a job. And then almost immediately, I knew this wasn't for me. There wasn't a crash, just this quiet realization a few weeks in. First week, it was new and exciting. Second week, it slowly started to taper off. By the third and the fourth week, it felt like, man, I'm wasting my time here. The long hours, the commute, the repetitive tasks in spreadsheets, there was nothing exciting about it. Nothing that made me want to get better. Nothing that made me feel alive. Days just felt like another day in the office, clicking, typing, going home, eating, sleeping, and doing it all over again. So for years, I coasted. I stayed in jobs I didn't like. I stayed in relationships where we both knew something was missing. And that's not to knock on anyone I was with. In some ways, those relationships helped hold me together, but they also gave me way to avoid myself. Eventually, they ended. I spent weekends gaming for hours. Apex Legends was my escape. My girlfriend would go out and I'd just be home, headset on, pretending everything was fine. I kept telling myself I just needed more time. I'll start something soon. But it turned into months and then years. And then COVID hit. And weirdly, it kind of reinforced the mindset that no one else is doing anything either. So why should I? But the thing is, COVID didn't shut off like a light switch. And neither did my potential. It just faded along with the motivation to change. Some days it felt like I was sleepwalking. I'd wake up, scroll, work, eat, game, sleep, repeat. It wasn't depression. It definitely wasn't living though. After one of my breakups, that emptiness came rushing back. There was no partner and there was no direction, just empty space. But it wasn't freedom, it was just hollow. During that time, I found myself clinging to little routines. There was this girl at the gym I used to see. I never talked to her, but just knowing she was there gave me a sort of comfort. That's when I knew something was wrong. I was holding on to fantasies just to avoid feeling alone. Then one night, it finally snapped. A family member said something behind my back. It wasn't even the words, it was the weight of what it meant. Deep down, it confirmed a fear I already had, that people around me didn't believe in me. That night, I paused on an episode of Netflix. I sat down in my chair and I stared at the screen and I said to myself, this can't go on. That's it. Since then, I've been rebuilding. I've actually been flipping things for a while, cars, chairs, and even a mobile home. I've always been smart with my money. I built a budget, created a little runway, but it wasn't until I fixed up that mobile home that I felt like I built something for real. It gave me the confidence and the space to go all in on myself. And now I'm preparing to quit my job. I'm planning to move to Tokyo, and I'm finally trying to build a life that feels like mine. Do I know exactly what I'm doing? Not really. But for the first time in a long time, I'm doing something on purpose. I'm doing something that feels aligned with what I want to do. And yeah, I'm kind of scared. I'm scared I might fail, that I might run out of money, and that I might end up back home feeling like I wasted my time. But I'm more scared of not trying. I'm more scared of staying stuck, waking up at 40 and realizing that I've lived the same year 10 times. I want to make my younger self proud. And when I'm old and looking back at my life, I want to know that I bet on myself and I did something that I really wanted to do. If you're still watching this, maybe you're in the same place I was. You're not broken, you're just stuck. But stuck doesn't have to be where your story ends. This channel is where I'm rebuilding my life publicly, not to go viral, not to look impressive, not as a guru, but to finally feel alignment. So if you're rebuilding too, or even just thinking about it, drop a comment. Tell me what you're starting over from, even if it's messy, especially if it's messy, and especially if you're comfortable with it. And subscribe if you want to see where this goes, not just for me, but maybe for yourself too.